The last time we read together, we were reading and thinking about what the lesson is in the story and what we can learn from it. We've already read some folk tales in first grade this year. What is a folk tale? That's right. A folktale is a story that's been passed down from generation to generation orally or by somebody telling it by mouth until somebody decided to write it down so it could live for a long time. And we know that folktales or fables often have messages in them that we can learn from. So today I'm going to read a few different folk tales from this collection called Aesop's Fables. And I want us to be thinking about what the lesson could be that we can learn from these tales. I'm going to start with one of my favorite folk tales called The City Mouse and the Country Mouse. As you're listening, be thinking about what the lesson is. The city mouse hadn't seen his country cousin in a long while, so he decided to pay a visit. "Welcome, welcome," said the country mouse when his cousin arrived. "How fine you look in your tailored suit. I do hope you packed something more comfortable, though. I'm afraid this barn that I live in gets dusty." "Indeed," said the city mouse, brushing a piece of straw from his sleeve. "How do you ever put up with all this dried grass?" "I like my home just as it is," replied the country mouse. "All this soft, warm straw makes it cozy. But you must be hungry after your trip. I've prepared a special meal." "Wonderful," said the city mouse. "As a matter of fact, I am a bit hungry." The country mouse went to work setting the table. He brought out sunflower seeds, dandelion greens, an apple core, 2 walnut shells filled with fresh milk, and cornbread crumbs. He was especially proud of the cornbread crumbs because they were so hard to come by. He had to sneak into the farmhouse and risk being smacked with a broom. He hated when that happened, but he wanted to impress his cousin with his fine food. The city mouse wasn't impressed at all. In fact, he didn't even care for the meal. "My poor cousin," said the city mouse. "How can you live on such simple foods? You should come with me to the city. I'll show you what fine dining really is." "I'll admit that my diet is plain," said the country mouse, "but I like it just the same." "But," the city mouse replied, "you don't know what you're missing." The 2 mice sat and talked for a while, and then it was time for bed. The country mouse fell asleep right away. The city mouse tossed and turned. "What's that noise?" asked the city mouse, annoyed. What noise?" replied the country mouse, yawning. "That horrible screeching sound," said the city mouse. "Can't you hear it?" "Oh, you mean the crickets. They're just crickets. You get used to them. It's a soothing kind of sound, don't you think?" "Not me," replied the city mouse, but his cousin had already fallen back to sleep. The city mouse continued to toss and turn. When he finally dozed off, a rooster began to crow, announcing the arrival of morning. "Rise and shine, cousin," said the country mouse. "Are you ready for breakfast?" "Cousin," answered the city mouse, "this country living isn't to my liking. I want to go back to the city as soon as I can. Why don't you come with me and see what it's like?" "I'd love that," said the country mouse, very excited. So after breakfast, the 2 set out for the city. They arrived late in the afternoon. The country mouse was impressed by the carpets and woodwork in his cousin's apartment. After resting a few minutes, they decided it was time for dinner. "What would you like to eat?" asked the city mouse. "This city is full of fine restaurants. I know a good dumpster behind a seafood place, but you have to eat quickly because there are lots of cats around. Or perhaps we can pick up something on the street. Sometimes children drop their ice cream cones, or people toss away the ends of their hot dog buns." "Oh, ice cream hot dog buns? I don't know what you're talking about, but it all sounds so wonderful. Let's go out and explore." It was rush hour when the mice reached the street. People filled the sidewalks and traffic clogged the avenues. The mice darted between shoes, dashed around automobiles, and scurried along curbs. "Isn't this exciting?" said the city mouse. "I'm afraid I don't care much for it," replied the country mouse as he unstuck his leg from a wad of bubblegum on the sidewalk. "It's dangerous and it smells bad." "What?" said the city mouse, who couldn't hear over the noise from a passing bus. "I want to go back to your apartment," said the country mouse. When the mice returned to the apartment, a party was going on. There was a table set up with all kinds of cakes, fruits, and cheeses. "We're in luck," said the city mouse. "As soon as the party's over, we'll feast on the leftovers." They hid for several hours until the last guest went home. "Now's our chance!" exclaimed the city mouse, and he and his cousin climbed up the tablecloth to explore the banquet. The country mouse was fascinated by a huge piece of chocolate cake. He especially enjoyed munching on the sugar frosting rose, and he even found the candle to be tasty. Next, he joined his cousin in devouring a bit of cheese. "This really is a treat," he said between bites. All at once, the door swung open and a huge dog bounded into the dining room. It ran around the table, barking and yelping and causing quite a fuss. The two mice barely made their way back to safety. Out of breath and still shaking, the country mouse said to the city mouse, "Cousin, you may enjoy the fine food and fast pace of the city, but I'd rather have my simple meals in peace and quiet." And saying that, the country mouse went home. Think right now, in the city mouse and the country mouse, what is the lesson in this story? Something I love about Aesop's fables is at the end of the story, they actually tell you what the lesson is. So the lesson in this story is to each his own, which means while some people might like one thing, other people might like something different, and that's okay. Everybody is unique and special in their own way, and so what somebody might like might be different than what you like, but that's okay. That's what makes us special. Thanks for reading with me. I'll see you next time.